Are you the master of your own destiny? If not, then you better stick around because I'll show you how you can become it. Good evening. Nice little tip of that. Don't know if you have a Lidl supermarket, or Lidl I think they call it in the UK, but if you have, their own gin. It's really good. Anyway, on a totally different point, what about the golf? Well, all things golfing, the time of shooting, the US Open's only a week away. And again, as you know, I get nice and worked up about these things, so I'm really looking forward to that one. It'll be in front of the television late nights, because obviously coming from the US, it's all put back for us a little bit. Still, I'm not quite sure who I think is going to win it. Dustin Johnson might well be up there. Rory's gone off the boil a little bit, not really kind of doing the stuff that he was doing, but I mean, Simpson just totally annihilated everybody in the players, so I don't know, maybe he might be up for another one. Anyway, I'll get back to you before then anyway with who I think is gonna win the US Open. Let's get to the subject of this evening. This evening's talk is more or less, it's a strange old thing, but I've never really seen an amateur golfer interrupt their routine. You know, when you go out to the golf ball, don't feel particularly good about it, walk away and start again. There's a great time when Tiger Woods was at his peak where he would almost kind of stop in the middle of his backswing because something had distracted him, or he'd just got the wrong kind of thought or wrong picture in his mind.
Oh, wow, that's good stuff. You can't do that. I wonder when he said stop. Is it? You can't be starting down, Nick, and go stop. You can't do that.
His mind. And this is something that a lot of amateurs don't do. Now, I'm sure that they have the same kind of daft thoughts that we professionals do. So it can't be that. But somehow, whether it's, the pressure of the speed of play or just simply thinking, oh, well, it will go all right, they tend to hit the golf ball anyway. And I can tell you that is not the way to go. You've got to step away from the golf ball if you aren't completely convinced that you're going to hit it. And this is one of the simple tricks which can save you lots of shots on a round. And if you really kind of analyze your round, an awful lot of the poor shots were all associated to poor thought patterns. You didn't get a picture, you didn't feel confident about the shot, you weren't quite convinced that you had the right club in your hand, but you hit the shot anyway. Somebody dropped the bag, somebody was talking in the background, someone stood too close to you, could see a shadow, you hit the shot anyway. And you've got to stop doing that. You've got to set boundaries for your head and say, if any of these things happen, then I'm not going to hit the ball. Now that might mean that you take a long time and an awful lot of attempts to actually hit a shot, but the more that you kind of set these boundaries, the more that your brain actually becomes accustomed to the routine and gets a little bit more kind of into it. When you go through a pre-shot routine, you should have exactly the same thought processes every time. But if you are pretty kind of relaxed with the way that you allow your thought process to happen, and you don't basically interrupt them if they change, then don't be really surprised if you start thinking about the out of bounds at the top of your swing, or what you're going to do this evening, and you follow through. You've got to really set boundaries for yourself. There's a strategy for bringing up children they call love and boundaries, which is basically, show them you love them every day, but set them very strict boundaries and don't let them step across them. If they do, there's got to be consequences. And the consequence here is basically, if I get a bad thought in my head, I am not going to hit the golf ball. That's basically what I've said. And again, if you get your piece of paper out, and I like my pieces of paper with lists, and list down exactly all the things that you are not going to be allowed to think about. These are the boundaries. You're not going to think about any kind of hazards or parts of the golf course that you don't want to hit it. You're not going to be picturing bad shots or shots you've already hit which you didn't like. You're not going to hit the ball despite somebody distracting you. You're not going to hit the ball despite not having a good picture of the shot. You're not going to hit the ball despite not being convinced you can hit the ball. You're never going to hit the golf ball with a golf club which you're not sure is the right golf club for the job. If you were to just take those 6, then you're on a very good way. And then you've got to start on the driving range adapting your pre-shot routine and really almost kind of standing in the third person and watching yourself hit shots. So you'll walk up to the golf ball, and if all of your thought processes are identical, if there's nothing disturbing you, if you're convinced you're going to hit it, you hit the golf ball. Go away, another ball, exactly the same procedure. The best thing will be kind of swap through your clubs, and sometimes I'll play around a golf on the driving range. So I'll imagine my home course, hit a drive, imagine where it would lie, pick the next club, and carry on like that. And you've got to then start walking away from the ball when these strange thoughts come in. And it might be as strange as thinking, okay, what did he say I was supposed to be doing? You shouldn't be thinking about what I'm telling you to do when you're standing over the golf ball. And you've got to be really clear cut with this. That means you've got to be walking away from the golf ball every time you get a stupid thought. Now, I know there are times on the round where you've got this idiot who just keeps talking, keeps putting you off, so you think, well, let's just get it done. Or you've got a group behind you who keep driving the ball in your neck, and you just rushing basically to get around the golf course without getting hit by somebody behind you. In those cases, you've got to open your mouth, tell the guy to shut up, turn around, go back to the next flight and tell them that they should watch what they're doing, but do not change the way you play golf. You should be playing golf the same way every time you get on a golf course. And that's one of the things. There's a beautiful story about one of the members in our club going up to Scotland and playing a round of golf in Scotland, and by some kind of luck or whatever, he ended up in a group with Jack Nicklaus and his son. And he says one of the most extraordinary things that he saw in that round of golf is that Jack Nicklaus looked like he was on television, because he did exactly the same things. He was lining up every putt, he was taking his time, he was concentrated. He shot about a 65, I think. But it was like watching him on telly. And this guy said he does not have an off switch. It was just the same routine, the way Jack does it every time he walked up to the golf ball. And I think a lot of us tend to have our Sunday golf, we have our Saturday golf, we have our tournament golf. We've got different heads for different situations. And that means basically you aren't really clear when you should be walking away from the ball and when you should be hitting the golf ball. So it's a quite simple one this evening. Work on your pre-shot routine and start with a line in the sand. I am not going to hit the golf ball if any of these thoughts cross this line. And if they do, I'm walking away, and that's the end of it. So go out and try it. I can guarantee you it will work. I can also guarantee you it will not be as easy as you think. You will be walking away from a lot of golf balls, and a lot of your mates are going to get a little bit miffed with you, but who cares as long as you get them to pay for the beer at the end of the round. On that note, I wish you a very good evening. If you liked it as ever, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. My philosophy is up here if you want to read it. I'll be back very shortly